Guys, I sure coming at you today in Raid Shadow Legends. Welcome to the video. Guys, I'm glad to have you here today. We're going to talk about some really awesome legendary champions who, whenever I make one of those videos like where's legendary champions, I get a few of you guys, talking about, dude, why didn't you put X, Y, or Z champion on the list? They suck. But then I think to myself when reading your comments, no, did you miss the big buff that said champion had? A lot of these champions, well, all of these champions received buffs, some more recently, some maybe a couple of years ago, but for whatever reason, some people just haven't noticed every balance change that happens in this game. Some of these champions just may be guarding your vault, and I think all of them really are justifiably removable from vaults. Does that make sense?
No, they don't. It doesn't look good.
Either way, guys, welcome to the video. How you guys doing anyway? I'm doing fine myself here, trying to get ahead a little bit in my recording schedules. Work has been crazy, been having an absolute blast with the boy, and I must say, not to brag, no one ever says this. No, everybody always says I'm so stressed out in life, but maybe I'll say it in a positive way, and hopefully it will kind of bleed off over into you guys. But my stress level is like so low lately. And I know, I almost feel guilty saying that. I feel like it's more socially acceptable to be like, I'm so stressed out, man. But my stress level has been low. My happiness quotient has been super high. And I just want to thank you guys. You know, it may not seem like it to you. It's kind of weird. I'm just talking on YouTube to you right now, but you are a part of my life, and here I am, part of yours, at least for the next 15 minutes or so. So thank you for tuning in every day. I really appreciate you guys. Let's go ahead and get into it. I'm all over the place to start this video, just like I am pretty much every video, huh, guys? So I want to start out with one champion that I like to call the Bumblebee. Anybody know where I'm going here, the Bumblebee? A champion that nobody talks about, and it's Lugan the Steadfast. I love Lugan the Steadfast. Does he have lore? Of course he doesn't have lore. Either way, Mr. Bumblebee, I love this dude, man. He's really good for progression and for faction wars. He's one of the better ally protectors out there in the game because it's very easy to keep himself alive. Now, Spirit Affinity ally protectors, he definitely still comes second or third to Kyoku. Kyoku is just, you know, S tier. But Lugan is not bad at all, and he received a pretty substantial buff. Let's talk about it. On his A1, first of all, he has a 25% heal based on damage inflicted on Crushing Blow. Now, it's not out of this world multipliers, but a 25% AoE heal and a shield on himself as well is a pretty dang solid A1 ability to start with, right? On the A2 Bodyguard, 3-turn cooldown, increased defense for 3 turns on him. Now, it's not block damage like Kyoku, but it's a great damage mitigator to always have increased defense up on Lugan, because again, it's a 3-turn cooldown and it lasts for 3 turns. Also, ally protection on all allies for 2 turns. You guys already know, ally protection is the best damage mitigator out there in the game. 50% of raw damage soaked up from all allies and circumvented to Mr. Lugan the Steadfast. It's a great ability, and it used to kind of suck. It used to suck. It read the same, but it was a 5-turn booked down to a 4-turn. I really love that they took it down to a 3-turn. I wish they would do that with more legendary champions, not just ally protectors, but some of the old kind of legacy legendaries. And then Mark of Silence is an AoE block active skills for 2 turns. It's on a 4-turn cooldown, but there is no AoE block active skills in this entire game on a 3-turn cooldown. So that is not anything that we could really feasibly ask for. I guess we could ask, but it probably wouldn't be granted. Either way, 100% when booked block active skills is great to have. It's a great control ability, and they changed it to damage based on HP. It used to be one of those awkward moves that it was based on attack, so they gave him that buff as well. So all in all, great buff to the champion. His base stats are money, great, 22k, almost 1100 on the defense, 103 speed. HP and faction crypts can be a great faction war carry. You don't see him much used in the end game, to be fair, but he's a fantastic option for kind of, you know what, you could even run him, heck, in a go second team, like a fun go second arena team with that block active skills, not to mention the damage mitigation, but you can definitely get utility out of him in so many more areas than I see people kind of talking about the champion. I feel like if I had him like on my mini account, I would definitely use him. I would lean on him big time. Okay, next up, guys, you know what? Let's kick it old school for a moment, you know? I don't know if there's many players left, because you gotta have a pretty damn good player retention rate to actually be around way back when Dracomorph sucked.
Oh, well, pardon me, Mr. Perfect!
Dracomorph, I started playing the game, I want to say right around the same time. That maybe right before, but I didn't have them, so I didn't pay much attention to it, you know? That's kind of how it is, right? When you don't have champions, you're like, great, they're getting a buff. Fantastic, you know? I'll forget that in 2 seconds. But Dracomorph used to really, really suck, okay? Now, his A1 was buffed a lot, but then it was subsequently nerfed again. So we're not going to talk about Seeping Pain. But check out Poison Jaws, right? A 3-turn cooldown, 4 times at random. Each hit places a big version of poison for 3 turns, okay? Great ability. Each hit, big version, 3 turns, 3-turn cooldown. Fantastic. Well, it used to be a triple hitter and only 1 poison. Not each hit just places a poison. That was it. Just 1 poison. So yeah, it sucked. A triple hitter with 1 poison? No, thank you. Moreover, his A3, it was still on a 3-turn cooldown. It used to be weakened in the small version of decreased defense. What? On a legendary champion? No way! So my man was basically doing not a lot of damage with his A1, 1 poison on his A2, and the weak version of decreased defense and weaken on the A3. Yeah, he used to not be that good, but they gave him a massive buff. So definitely Dracomorph belongs on our list today. Now this is a champion that's kind of more recent that, boy oh boy, you let me know if I should do a full guide on this champion. Maybe I can just throw it on the Raid Champion Guys YouTube channel, on the second channel, maybe on the main channel. Either way, Errol.
I'll never forgive this.
Dude, I gave Errol so much crap for so long here on this channel, and a lot of you guys just missed his buff apparently, because this was the guy that I was specifically talking about. When I do worst legendaries, I get all the Errol haters. You come out of the woodwork, man. You guys hate Errol. Does he have lore? No, he doesn't have lore. But what he does have is a big buff. So what happened? His A1's the same. His A2, Helmbreaker. It's an AoE times 2, extra 30% chance in crit hit, and then we'll ignore 15% of target's defense on each hit, 2-time hitter, on a 3-turn cooldown. Now, this used to be a triple hitter on 1 target. Gross. Now it's a 2-time ignoring defense, extra 30 crit. It like sign me up for the hard hitting AoE attack. This ability smacks any ability really that is ignoring defense built into it. Not every single one, but a lot of them in the game. It's a good indicator that might be a very powerful nuke, right? So making this an AoE not with times 1 but times 2 really helped get a lot more out of this champion. Now he's a great AoE nuker. Before he was a single target lackluster champion. Negation on his A3. They added grant an extra turn if the target is killed and is doing a ton of damage. They also added the debuff removal. Removes all debuffs from this champion and steals all buffs from the target before attacking. Before it used to read, steals all buffs from the target before attacking, but now we get to cleanse all our debuffs first at the same time. We also have the extra 30% chance of inflicting a critical hit, so we can build him with 70% crit rate, because he has it on his A2 and his A3 ability, and that extra turn on a very hard-hitting ability is money. Love Errol now, man. He's a great nuker, and people, I feel like, are just sleeping on him or not giving him a shot if they previously had him. Great champion. All right, let's kick it old school. I'm gonna go old school, new school, old school, new school, old school.
His brain ain't right, but it's fun.
Let's kick it kind of old school here. Not as old school as Dracomorph, but it's Michel. Ooh, Michel used to suck so bad, guys. So the old Michel, Bloodsucker really sucked. Now it doesn't suck, but before it sucked, it was true to the name. Attacks 1 enemy, heals his champion. It used to end right there. That's it. They added, will then attack all enemies under leech debuffs, which is great for like Hydra It's great for anywhere because he's bringing Leech essentially on a 2-turn cooldown because of this amazing ability that grants an extra turn and brings Leech anyway to the table for 2 turns, ergo 2-turn cooldown. Anyway, increased speed, increased crit damage on all allies for 2 turns, True Fear and Leech on all enemies for 2 turns, grants an extra turn. What? It was increased speed and increased crit rate on 1 ally for 2 turns. What? And then there was no True Fear, there was no Leech, there wasn't granted an extra turn. So all you were doing is putting freaking increased speed and increased crit rate with an extra turn on 1 ally. Whoop-de-dooped. Like, what a crap ability that is. Now it's seriously, Tornado is right up there with one of the best abilities in the game. I mean, True Fear, Leech, increased speed, increased crit damage, extra turn, always have it up, sign me up. A3, they also buffed the hell out of A3 as well. He's now stealing buffs, and they add the continuous heals, right? 100% to steal all buffs from the target before attacking. They also added 2 continuous heal buffs on this champion for 3 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. He's a great self-healer, not to mention he has the heal on the A1 as well. So Michel now just one of the better champions out there. Before, not so much. Let's kick it new school here, guys. Actually, we didn't need to go anywhere. Let's talk about my man Vlad. Oof. So Vlad used to be, I don't know if I would say he was like awful, but he was definitely below average, certainly for a Void legendary champion. And now I think that Vlad is actually, well, he's really good. He's really competent, right? I would say an average to maybe slightly above average legendary now. Maybe even better than that. How do you guys feel about Vlad? Have you used him? He's a beast, especially when paired with Constantine, but even in a vacuum, he's great. So Vlad, the A3 was totally changed, but I do want to talk about his A2 really quickly. An AoE, Leech on everybody. Also 100% chance, of stealing 50% turn meter from champions in Bannerlord, Sacred Order, or High Elf factions. If not, 100% chance of decreasing turn meter by 50%. That's a great control ability, man. If we're stealing even some of it, it's an AoE attack, so it applies to everybody that we're attacking. If we're only stealing, you know, a few of the turn meters, we can get an extra turn essentially, or a full turn meter after this attack. Even if we're not stealing anything, a 50% turn meter reduction on a 3-turn cooldown is good in its own right, plus an AoE Leech. Very good ability. And then Mind Shroud. Boy, did they give him a massive buff on this ability as well. It used to be a single target ability, okay? Now, well, that's definitely not the case. It is 100% AoE, and the Perfect Veil is no longer conditional. The Perfect Veil used to be conditional on debuffs. They reworked the whole thing. Now attacks all enemies, 100% decrease defense and block active skills. Record scratch. Wait a second. Didn't I say earlier on Lugan the Steadfast, there is no block active skills? There is no AoE block active skills in this entire game on a 3-turn cooldown. Whoopsie! I guess I stand corrected. Now there is. Oh man, that is embarrassing, but at least I caught myself in the same video. Now I have to call a quick timeout. I have to consult hellhades.com to make sure I'm not forgetting anybody else. But now he has block active skills and decreased defense and a Perfect Veil on himself for 2 turns, all on a 3-turn cooldown. Dude, this is nasty, man. This is a nasty ability. On the passive, Notorious. Notorious. No? Okay. Revive on death. He's got a fully heal and turn meter fill if Constantine's on the same team. Again, I'm going to take that time out right now. I'm going to make sure that my information is accurate. Besides Vlad the Nightborne, is there anybody else in the game who has block active skills on a 3-turn cooldown on an AoE? Be right back. All right, guys, so I did the research. It's only Vlad, and I guess technically maybe it is Ramachu Drakesblood, right? Because it's either block passive or active on his 3-turn cooldown Blood Wings. Everybody else, we're talking Karato, we're talking Killian, champions like that. It is on a 4-turn cooldown. So anyway, my apologies to Vlad, to Lugan, and to anybody else that I offended in that misinformation, but at least we corrected it here. Fact checking as we go. Works on Raid Shadow Legends videos, not so much on politics in general, I would say.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
There is no AoE. Old school time, not really. it's kind of, yeah, it's old school now, right? And it's Candyman. Kandraphon. So his A1 attacks one enemy, places an extra hit if the target is under any buff. It used to be an extra hit on one of the hardest hitting A1s in the entire game, Punish Hubris. It used to be if they're under an increased attack buff. Now it's any buff. Butcher's Glee. It was always the same. It was always incredibly hard hitting, but they buffed the hell out of On the Hunt and specifically his passive. So On the Hunt, now it is increased speed and increased crit damage, along with Perfect Veil and increased attack. Before, it was only Perfect Veil and increased attack. So now we have the speed and the crit damage. It's one of the better self-buffing abilities out there in the game. But the real magic, guys, the real magic is this passive. From the shadows, it used to read damage increases by 40% when attacking under a Veil or Perfect Veil, but now he's got damage mitigation. He's got a turn meter boost each time this champion receives damage under a Veil or Perfect Veil, and this is the best part, place a Perfect Veil buff on this champion for 1 turn each time an enemy's turn meter is filled. This buff cannot be removed. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing with the Mighty Ukos, the Madame Cereses of the world, Cestalia, or whoever your opponent's using. They're not going to be able to remove that Perfect Veil. The turn meter increase allows you to build him slow. The Veil, Perfect Veil, allows you to put him on go second teams as well to protect him. You just got great synergy in one of the hardest hitting abilities and the hardest hitting A1s too. So you can even use Candyman with the extra hit. You can even use him against like Warlord and Yumeko teams. Even if he's locked out of everything else, he's still got his passive, right? And he's still got, again, Punish Hubris. That can just take care of everybody. I've been on the losing end of it, so I can speak from experience of Candyman's A1. So he was a champion who was really, really underwhelming. You never wanted to see Kandraphon pulled ever back in the day, and now he's actually one of the better nukers in the entire game. So that's cool. Next up is not a Skinwalker, but a Lizard Man. It is none other than Vergumkar, another one who I think is really special now. Maybe he's boxed out a little bit by, I guess, like, now I'm trying to think of who he's boxed out by. He's a very, very unique kit now on Vergumkar, right? So on the A1, they increased the multiplier, right, on the A1. On the A2, the removes all provoked debuffs and 1 random debuff from all allies. That's the same. It increased defense on all allies. Used to be conditional based on how many debuffs you removed. I hate conditionality in this game. I just like it to be a sure thing. He's dependable now. So now he's bringing a removing provoke, removing a random debuff from all allies. Sometimes that's all you need is 1 random debuff, you know? It's a full cleanse sometimes. Increased defense and a shield. I mean, that's a solid ability, right? Random buff, provoke, increased defense, shield on a 3-turn cooldown. And then on the A3, they buffed this one as well. It used to be heal reduction and decreased defense. They were conditional, again, based on how many buffs you were removing, okay? But in this case, now it's 100% as well on a 3-turn cooldown again. Attacks all enemies, removes 1 random buff from each enemy, 100% chance of removing 2 random buffs from each enemy. So if you book them, you get 2 random buffs, that's great. And then 100% chance of placing a heal reduction and a decreased defense for 2 turns. That's a really solid kit, dude. He's bringing a 3-turn decreased defense, heal reduction, removing buffs, cleansing your team, increased defense, shield, immune to provoke, fills his champion's turn meter by 20% every time he gets attempted to be provoked, stun on the A1. I mean, that's a really freaking good kit, dude. Vergumkar is really, really solid now. It's beautiful to get increased defense, decreased defense in one champion, both on 3-turn cooldowns. He can serve a dual role on your team, and that is so special. We always talk about that here on the channel. Whenever you can get a champion, like maybe a Mighty Uko, right? Block buffs, decreased defense, and also a little cleanse, a great heal, break glass in case of emergency revival. All of that in one champion is extremely valuable. It allows you to put another DPS or something on your team instead. So I love Vergumkar now. I hope I made my point clear. I've drooled all over the big fella. Usually he's drooling all over everybody else. What's up, little Vergumkar? He is a big-ass slug, man. Slug of a lizard.
I'm about to beat this bitch up.
Next one's going to be a champion who most of you probably have, and it is Visix the Unbowed. Now, I think, to be fair, probably everybody knew about Visix buff, right? She used to suck, now she's great. On the A1, the turn meter fill used to be 10%. They bumped it to 15%. Sign me up. On the A2, they added the ally protection on this ability, right? It used to be totally different. They reworked her entire kit, but a 3-turn cooldown, AoE attack, decreased speed, ally protection on all allies as well. Really good ability. On the AoE, on the A3, they changed it to AoE. If only I could talk, it'd be a great career to go into making YouTube videos. If only I could learn to articulate my thoughts properly. One of these days, guys, one of these days. Single combat, they changed it to an AoE provoke. It used to displace 1 provoke. Who cares, man? No. Now we have an AoE provoke on a 3-turn cooldown. They moved the shield from the A3 to from the A2 to the A3, which makes more sense as well. So now we get the shield on herself, the AoE attack, the provoke, and AoE decreased defense, ally protect. And she's got a great kit, doesn't she? I mean, that's a really, really good freaking kit. Great buff to her because, boy, as the last not the last, but back in the day, the last login champion that you got, boy, was she underwhelming when they first released her. So I'm really happy that they did buff her. Speaking of underwhelming when they first released him or her, Wurlim Frostking. Now, some of you OG viewers, right? You old school players out there, you'll remember Wurlim Frostking was actually the final reward of the Battle Pass Season 1. And then we never got Season 2, 3, 4. We never got anything. It was one and done. But Wurlim Frostking was our reward, except for that he wasn't good. He sucked. Now he's really, really good. You guys know me. I've been talking about Wurlim and how powerful he is for a long time. They decreased the cooldown of this ability. It used to be on a 6 down to 4. Now we get the big version of Strengthen, big version of the increased defense on a 3-turn cooldown. So having the increased defense Strengthen on the 3-turn cooldown on the same ability, I want to say only one champion in the game has that ability, and you're looking at him, Wurlim Frostking. It's worthy of the Void status. Great carry, but that's not it. They gave a big buff to his A2 as well. Frostbite Blast, an AoE attack, 100% chance of placing a decreased crit damage, and that was it before. Ending right there. Now, he's also bringing AoE decreased accuracy, and these debuffs cannot be resisted. Moreover, he's also coming to the table with an increased crit damage on his own allies. Ooh, I really like that. Decreased accuracy, decreased crit damage, can't be resisted, increased crit damage on everybody else, AoE attack on a 3-turn cooldown, increased defense, strengthen, and a pretty reliable freeze and perfect veil synergy on the ally with lowest HP if the freeze debuff is blocked or resisted. They added this veil to his kit as well. So they did they buffed all of his abilities. One of the best auras for Doom Tower as well. 40% defense in Doom Tower battles. Wurlim Frostking is a really underrated Void champion in my opinion. And last but not least, guys, it comes down to the Ogryn tribe. Were we gonna go with Gurptuk or are we gonna go with Shamrock? I love Shamrock and I love what they did to him on Lucky Charms, but I'm gonna go with Gurptuk Mossbeard. I guess Shamrock, honorable mention. Gurptuk Mossbeard, man, his kit when he was first released really made no sense, right? His A2 red removes, actually, let's start with the A3 because it will make more sense if you're not familiar with the champion. Places 3, it used to be big versions of poisons, now it's a small version. Debuffs on all allies for 3 turns. Cannot be resisted or blocked. Also has a 100% chance of placing a block buffs debuff on all enemies for 2 turns. The block buffs on a 2-turn for 3-turn cooldown makes him great against Hydra Clan Boss. But the 3 big versions of poisons, the problem is they did a really good job of killing your allies. And killing your team is not ideal in Raid Shadow Legends. You don't get that hard edge cutting strategy anywhere else but here on Ash Raid Shadow Legends. Killing your team is bad. There you go, guys. That's why you subscribe to the channel. Passive, allies under poison inflict more damage up to 30%. So that's great to have the poison on us, but his A2, here's the issue. His A2, which is a great ability, Druidic Boon, 2-turn cooldown, that's why it's so great, removes all debuffs except poison from an ally. Let's stop there. It used to read, removes all debuffs from an ally. So he would put the poisons on, and then he cleansed them right back off, defeating the purpose and the point of having the poisons on all allies to begin with. But now he's ignoring the poisons, which is great. Then heals them by 30% of their max HP, places a shield on them, 20% of their max HP for 2 turns as well. So you get a great heal, a solid shield, and a full cleanse except poisons on a 2-turn cooldown. It's a very, very good ability now. And then a 2-time hitter with a continuous heal on all allies under poisons on his A1. So they really fixed the A3 to make sure you're not killing your team, and the A2 to make sure you're not getting rid of the poisons. Now his kit makes a lot more sense. Not only for, you know, the heals, the cleansing, and the block buffs, but also for maximizing the damage, especially when paired with enemy max HP champions, because that extra 30% of raw damage, you know, increase is really, it's a lot, right? I don't need to tell you, but if you're hitting for 1 million damage, we're gonna get 1.3 million damage, which is not bad at all, right? So enemy max HP especially synergizes well in Hydra alongside a Royal Guard or a Husk, champions like that, who especially over the course of time really can stack up the damage with Gurptuk there, kind of helping with the heals, the cleanses, and the block buffs as well. So guys, those are 10 champions. We had Lugan the Steadfast, we had Dracomorph, we had Errol, Michel, Candyman, Vlad, Vergumkar, Visix, Wurlim, and Gurptuk. Who did I forget with an honorable mention to Mr. Shamrock? Who did I forget, guys? I guess Killian, we mentioned him in passing too. I'm not sure if Killian I would consider to be good now. Maybe. You know, there is a Killian a fan club out there, so you guys can tell me, am I missing out on Killian the Lucky? Am I wrong on him? I'm still not like a big believer in him. Anyway, guys, I will end the video there. Thank you so much for watching all the way till the end. Much love to you if you need it. Thanks, and as always, take care, guys.